Well, hey, and welcome to the Becoming Better podcast. My name's Nate, and I'm so glad you're here. On today's episode, Corey, Jason, and I sit down and we talk about Jason's trip. We also answer your questions from last week, and we also dive into Corey's message in Luke chapter 7. If you haven't listened to that message, then I want to have you pause here and give that a listen, as that will help make this conversation make more sense to you. Well, without further ado, we hope you enjoy this conversation. How's it going, guys?
Happy Monday, everybody.
Good to be here.
Yeah. Jason's back.
Jason's back. Back again.
Tell your friend. Yeah. So,
As
sweet.
well as Corey's back.
Yeah, Corey's
I am.
back.
He filled in for me last week and in Josh's hot seat this week. So
Yep.
Yeah. Back-to-back weeks.
There we go. So, well, before we jump into our podcast, would love to just chat and see how your trip went.
yeah, I got to go to Yosemite for the first time
Let's
this
go.
year. So for those of you who've been around a little while, you know, I typically will not preach during June, which is why Corey was up this week. And so we usually take our vacation beginning of June. So that's what we did. Took a couple of weeks, spent the first week in an RV. So this is something our family's jumped into the last, I mean, we've probably done 4 or 5 of these. We just go get the Cruise America
Yeah.
RVs, because I'm like, you people who buy RVs, it's crazy expensive. Like, not just to buy it, but then to
Store
maintain
it.
it and store it and
Yeah.
insure it and buy tires for the dumb thing and keep the roof from leaking. I'm like, I'm out on all that. So I just rent them, and
Yeah.
it's been great. And so we got our little Cruise America RV and went over to the Sierra Nevadas. Got to go see the giant sequoias. So we did that. And then there's another national park that isn't as well known. It's called Kings Canyon,
Yeah.
which is in between Sequoia and Yosemite. And so we did that. And then we did Yosemite for a couple of days. So
Nice.
it was beautiful. Had never done it, and glad we did. And it's one of the
Yeah.
prettier parks. I'm not a hiker, but we did this. There's a hike called the Mist.
Yeah.
The Mist hike. I don't know what they call it. Mist Trail, I think is what it's called. Mist Trail. And it goes up to a big waterfall called I think it's Vernal Waterfall, something like that. You can Google it up. I think that's what it is. Anyway, it's like a mile and a half to get to what's called the Vernal Bridge. So it goes over this where the waterfall comes, the river comes down. And it's like inclined at like 30 degrees the entire way. Like it is, and I'm too old for this. Like I am so out of shape. I was like hurting. Like this is just inclined for a mile and a half. And then
Yep.
you get to this bridge, and you know, my son who's 14, he's a cross country runner.
Yep.
And he's like, "Oh, we got to go the rest of the way. We got to go to the top of the waterfall." And I'm like, "No, we don't." But we did.
Yeah. It looks so easy on this
It
map.
does. It doesn't take. But
On
what
this
is the
map.
incline gain right there to the top of Vernal Falls?
The top.
Is 2,000
Yep,
feet
1,500 feet.
to the top of Vernal Falls?
Yep. And then the top of
Yeah.
What's the
Nevada Fall.
total, how many total miles?
So to Vernal Falls, it looks 2.7 miles.
Yeah. So it's not a long hike. It's just uphill the entire
Yeah.
way. And so you get to the incline, the first incline, and it just doesn't stop. And we didn't know this because
Yeah.
we're just looking at a map
Yeah.
and we're not paying attention. But you're just uphill the entire way. It's just up. And then you get to the bridge and it's pretty and you see the water and it's great. And then, like I said, my 14-year-old, he's like, "Oh, we got to go to the top." And then you go another half mile on this kind of dirt trail. And then they've just got these steps carved out in the granite, like literal and you're just going like straight up a stairwell for another half mile. And it's just my poor quads. Like I'm not built for this. And he's just bebopping up like a rabbit. And I'm like, we could just stand down here and take a selfie. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
No, Dad, we got to go. And so.
That's awesome.
Was it worth it when you got to the top?
No, it was. No, I'm just kidding. It was fine. It was fine. It was good, and it's pretty. And there's this big kind of a little lake area at the top from a different falls that's coming down. It pools there, and it was great. But that was at that point I had to take my shoes off and just put them in the water, and it's all sno melt.
Yep.
And so I just had to let my feet just. Just try to get them some, what's the word I'm looking for? In the healing of the water, just bring down the inflammation from my sore feet up there in the icy water. So, but other than that, it was great. And if Yosemite is just beautiful. There's a reason they made a park out of it.
Yeah.
There's a reason they made a park out of it. We did see 2 bears. Like when we went to Sequoia, we did a horseback ride right outside. Actually, it's in between kind of Sequoia and Yosemite, and it was beautiful. And again, this was a legit, like up in the mountains, like your horse is climbing, like he's sweating. This is like one of those little go around the meadow kind of thing. It was like way up these mountains, and we're on the horse and just look over to the right, and there's a mom and 2 cubs, probably 50 yards away. And so we just sat there on the horses, just watched them. And then when we were going to Yosemite, we go to the lower Yosemite Falls, and we're just walking down the sidewalk, and literally bounding out of the bush, like literally 20 yards in front of us, is another mom with a cub. Like, oh, this is how people die.
Yep.
Is right here, and it wasn't 20 yards in front of us. So it was pretty crazy, beautiful. Loved it.
Yeah.
The tunnel view is awesome. Like you see
Every
the
time you
Instagram
drive in.
videos
Yep.
of the tunnel view coming out, and it just doesn't look real even when you're standing there. So it's just really pretty. So we enjoyed that.
Nice. Did you guys stay in the park with the RV, or did you guys park outside?
If you try to get into the parks, like you just have to be so far ahead.
Yeah.
Like those campsites just go so quick. And to be honest, we're a little too bougie for that, because you usually don't have like full hookups and amenities inside the national park. So we usually stay at someplace.
You're too bougie.
A little bougie for. We need the full hookups, and in a pool, right? So so we did that. So we stayed outside of the park for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was
So
great.
just the 3 of you guys?
Just the 3 of us.
Nice.
Yeah, the big one's off doing real man work,
Yep.
so he just can't take off. And I'm like, oh, stinks for you, kid.
Yep.
So out of the 3 parks, was Yosemite the
Oh yeah,
highlight?
it's beautiful. Yeah, you could spend a week there,
Yeah.
and just hike and look around and see the things. One of the things that we did, and again, I'd been thinking about this trip for a few months, and so then your algorithm just starts feeding you everything, right? Everything Yosemite, it starts feeding me. And one of the things that I saw is you're able to take a raft through the park. I don't know.
Oh, no. I didn't
See,
know
most
this.
people don't even know this. There's a river that kind of runs through the park. Starts with an M, Morand, something like that. And so they have in the park that you can rent these rafts. Here's what they don't say. They only have 55 of them a day. And you think about how many thousands of people come into that park. 55 of them. And they've got one little kiosk at Curry Village. And so once they're gone, they're gone. You can't reserve it ahead of time. You got to get it the day of. And so we rolled up at 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning and stood in line to get one of these little rafts. And again, there's 55 of them. That's all they'll do. And so we were able to do that because I knew it was coming. I knew this thing. And so we got to do a little raft and just go down the river. And it just gives you just an amazing view. You're just sitting there looking at the canyons, and you're looking at El Capitan, and you're like,
Yeah.
the fact that some crazy people free climb this thing is unbelievable. So if you haven't ever seen the documentary what's it called?
Free Solo.
Free Solo. It is like, it's just nuts.
Yeah.
And then another beautiful point for those of you who ever want to go is Glacier Point. If you go up to Glacier Point, you stand up on Glacier Point and you look across the canyon to Half Dome. And it just gives you an amazing view of it from across this canyon. And they've got, those binoculars like they put on tops of towers that you can kind of look across the city. Well, they've got some of those sitting up there, so you can sit there and look. And I pinpointed over on Half Dome, and you're looking away, and you just see these little tiny ants walking across the top of Half Dome. They've climbed it, and those people are crazy too. But
They are.
But it was beautiful. We had a good time, and glad we were able to see it.
That's awesome.
Of all of my national parks, it may be my favorite at this point.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's just so beautiful. I've just never been there. It's just so beautiful.
Yep. So we went early February 3-4 years ago, and we did Sequoia and Yosemite, and man, just seeing those clouds rolling over Half Dome and the waterfalls is just amazing. So I would agree with you. I think Yosemite is probably top for me.
Yeah.
So sweet. Any insiders on anybody wanting to rent an RV? Like, I feel like at this point, all the ins and outs.
Yeah. Again, you can get with Cruise America. It's literally like $112 a night is what or a day that you spend on the. And I'm like, you can't buy a set of tires for an RV for less than $2,000 like this. And it pulls great. It's not the most comfortable. Like they're not luxury. It is just does the thing that you needed to do, but it's got a strong motor. It pulls and goes up all the mountains. Like we've taken them up over top of Rocky Mountain National Park. We've gone through Yellowstone in them. We've gone through Zion. Like we've done all of the places in these. And Yosemite, I mean, it's a huge climb to get up into the Sierra Nevadas.
Yeah.
Like you gotta be able to pull to get up there. Here's the thing that I will tell you that I didn't like, but this is going to be with any RV. Like the gas mileage on those things is terrible. And so, I did the math, and I shouldn't have done the math, but I did the math. The gas, like you're spending for this trip, it was like 70 cents a mile. 70 cents a mile is what we spend. It gets like 8.5 miles a gallon when you're going in these mountains. And so you're pulling up, and gas in California was, they were trying to get $6.19 out of you in gas. And so I did the math, 8.5 miles a gallon at $6.19 a gallon. I'm like, it's like 70 cents a mile is what you're paying in gas. Yeah. So but if you got one of those big luxury diesel pushers, they're getting like $8 a gallon for diesel. So it was a brutal time to be at the pump in an RV. But outside of that, everything was good. But you get your food and it's all there. And
do they charge you mileage as well on that?
No.
Or is it unlimited miles?
Most of the Cruise America, you can find a special, and that's what we always do. Because if you're paying for mileage too, then you're really hosed. Yeah. We did it last year, right? And when we did our sabbatical last year, we took one for over a month, or about a month, and we went from here, and we went all the way to Buffalo and back, Buffalo, New York. We went all the way to Niagara Falls. So if I'm paying mileage like that, there's no way. Yeah. So most of those you can do for. There's usually a special that you can find that you can do with unlimited miles.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's jump in. This last week, we had that crazy monsoon, and I just want you guys to know that I was sitting here, and I could hear the storm just like pounding the building, and I was like, there's no way we're finishing this podcast. And right away, we got ready for the question and lost power like that. So we sat in here probably 20 minutes trying to wait it out, and
in the dark,
just not knowing if we got a podcast out. So we're going to answer Mariella's question that she submitted last week. So thank you for submitting this. But this is her question. She says, One of the repeated phrases in the sermon was, "Do the work." We know that our church does not view obedience as a way to earn salvation, but as the unavoidable necessary fruit of our heart truly regenerated by the Holy Spirit. Conversion is not just a call to live like Jesus. It means that the work on the cross, his work alone, has anchored our soul to the rock. Our fruit emanates from that point. Many unbelievers can live like Jesus and not know him. Shouldn't the phrase "live like Jesus" be preceded and qualified by the fact that the prerequisite to live like the Son is regeneration, being born again, a work that only the Father can accomplish?
All right. Well, I will try to do my best. Obviously, this comes out of our text that Kenny preached for us. So just to do a reminder for everybody, it's been a couple of weeks. It came from the end of chapter 6. So this is the end of Jesus teaching on the Sermon on the Plain. And he's wrapping up, and he has this application moment. And I just love the picture of, you got Jesus, and there's this huge crowd of people, and they've listened to this whole sermon. And part of it are this big group of disciples, So he's come down the mountain after choosing the 12. He's speaking to his disciples, but he's also got this larger crowd of people who are some floating in, some floating out. But there's this Luke makes it very clear. In verse 20 of chapter 6, he's looking at his disciples when he begins this message. And so that's who I imagine. So you just kind of got these three rings of people. You got the apostles, you got this disciples, and then you got this kind of bigger group. And they've all heard this sermon. They're all listening. And that's when Jesus makes this most famous, kind of picture for us. Why do you call me Lord, Lord, and do not do what I say? As everyone who comes to me and hears my words, and then here's the phrase, and puts them into practice. He's the guy who builds his house on the rock. But those who hear my words and do not put them into practice is like the guy who builds his house without a foundation. And so that's kind of the key to this moment. Jesus is wrapping up this sermon, and everybody in this crowd fits into one of two categories. They are going to be the ones who build the house on the rock, build it with a foundation, or build their house without a foundation, or as Matthew's rendition, builds their house on the sand. And so that's these two groups of people, and everybody hears it. Everybody who hears this message fits into one of those two categories. And I always remind people, we always grew up in VBS and we sang the song, right? And the rains came down and the floods came up. The rains came. You remember this, Corey?
Yes, it rings a bell.
and I always ask people, what does it mean to build your house on the rock? What is the rock? But Jesus. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, that's not true. It's not true. Because in this text, both groups of people call Jesus Lord, Lord. And both groups of people hear Jesus teaching. They hear the message. They're sitting there and they're taking it all in. What separates one group from the other is the application of the message, the obedience to the word of God. That's how you build your house on the rock. Not, do you believe what Jesus said? Did you hear what Jesus said? Could you repeat what Jesus said? But did you do what Jesus said? He says, that's the difference. Now, what Marielle is asking is, okay, she rightly recognizes we do not teach a works-based salvation. There's none of us can earn our way into salvation. Like, none of us are good enough. It is the work of God in us that Jesus did to forgive our sin and empower us to live the life that God has called us to. But with that being said, we do recognize, as Jesus is saying in this text, and I want to show you one more that I think I just resonate with so much, that us doing work, us actually, as Kenny mentioned, doing the work to dig down deep. That's what verse 48 and chapter 6 says. They are like a man building a house who dug down deep and laid the foundation on the rock. Like there is some things that we are to do. Like that we are called to put sin to death. We are called to serve one another. We are called to love the Lord your God with all your heart. There are forgive as the Lord has forgiven you. There are these expectations that we are commanded to do. And so we don't earn our salvation by doing these things. They are a reflection of the work of God in us. And I think that's what Mariella's pointing to. I love the phrase, and I can't remember exactly who said it. Dallas Willard is popping into my head, but I don't know if it's true or not. So one of y'all have to fact check me here. But there's a great phrase that the gospel is not opposed to effort. It is opposed to earning. The gospel is not opposed to effort. It is opposed to earning. Like there is this expectation that we are going to have to put forth effort, that we are going to work out our salvation with fear and trembling. There is things that we are called to do. It's not opposed to effort. It's opposed to earning. It doesn't earn us anything. Our effort doesn't earn us. Our obedience doesn't earn us salvation. But it is a requirement that we are to put forth effort because of what Christ has done in us. I want to give you one more verse. This is actually one that I share all the time. I've probably shared it on this podcast already. If you've been around me very long, you will hear me reference this text again and again and again. In fact, at our young adult group last night, we got onto this conversation a little bit, and I shared this verse again. So it's Titus chapter 2. Titus chapter 2, starting in verse 11. And it says, "For the grace of God has appeared and brings and offers salvation to all people." And this, we love this. The grace of God through Jesus has come and offers salvation to everyone. And we all cheer. We love grace. We love Jesus. We love salvation. And we stand up and applaud. Yay, grace. So that part is the work of God that he has done in us. Like that thing, like he saves us. There's no doubt. That's what he does. Then we come to verse 12. And that it is referring to the grace of God that brings salvation. It teaches us to say no to ungodliness and worldly passion and to live a self-controlled, upright, and godly life in this present age. It is the grace of God in me that teaches me. Like it doesn't do the work for me. It teaches me. It empowers me. It transforms me. It teaches me to say no to ungodliness. It teaches me to live a self-controlled, upright, godly life in this present age. Not in the by and by, not someday over the rainbow, not when I'm taking the dirt nap. This is not just about what grace does when I'm dead. It teaches me to live a godly life now. And so the thing that I say to people, what I said to my young people last night is, if you do not have a grace that is transforming you, that is teaching you to say no to ungodliness, no to worldly passions, that's teaching you to live a godly life now, if you don't have a grace that's transforming you, you don't have a grace that will save you, because it is one and the same grace. The grace that brings salvation is the grace that teaches me to say no to ungodliness. So Mariella, I would say, of course, it is Jesus' death on the cross that brings about a change, a regeneration of my heart. And that regeneration is played out as James talks about. A faith without works is dead. There is something unless it is bearing fruit of transformation in my life, that reveals that my heart really hasn't been transformed. Now, you referenced our slogan, live like Jesus. And so let me just make one quick comment about that. we brought that phrase up from at the beginning of the year, and it comes from 1 John chapter 2. And here's what it says. So just to remind people, it comes from 1 John chapter 2, verse 5 and 6. And here's what it says. This is how we know we are in him. Okay? Let me back up. Let me back up to the beginning of verse 5. But if anyone obeys his words, that's the way this text begins. If anyone obeys his words, love for God is truly made complete in them. How is love for God made complete? Through our obedience to the word. And this is how we know we are in him. And this, I always ask people at this point, do you want to know if you're actually in Jesus? And I think the answer, yeah, I want to know. I want to know that I'm really in Jesus. This is how you know, John says. Whoever claims to live in him must live as Jesus did. That's how we know. That's how we know that my heart has actually been regenerated. That's how I know I'm actually in Christ. If I claim to live in him, then I must live as he did, which means live in obedience to the Father. That's how I know. And so I think sometimes we try to pit these two things against each other, and I don't think that's what Mariella is trying to do. I think she's just looking for clarity around language. These two things are they're two sides of the same coin, that the work of God in us to regenerate us begins with the grace of God, and that grace then begins to transform us. Mm-hmm. But if I'm not being transformed, then what Titus 2:11 would say is, then I'm not actually regenerated. They are one and the same. Like they come together. You don't get one without the other. And so, do we need to preface the live like Jesus every time with a reminder that it comes out of our regeneration? I don't think so. And I don't know that the text that Jesus has given us in Luke chapter 6, he has an expectation that I think recognizes, because again, he references, these are people who are declaring themselves as his disciples. They're calling him Lord, Lord. So he's not talking to unregenerate unbelievers when he says, when they're declaring Lord, Lord. I think they believe that they're disciples, and Jesus is saying, if that's true of you, this will also be true. You will do what I say. And so I don't know that I don't feel like I have the tension that I need to say that every time we utilize that phrase. But I could be wrong.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for that clarity in that. And
I don't know if it's much clarity, but
well, the Titus verse, I mean, that sums it up. So that just sums it up so well. That tension that we are always feeling between what stage of the process is the works, if you want to call it works, or at what stage of the process is my obedience in, and that. It's an underrated verse.
Oh, I love it. I get so fired up. It's one of my favorite. I keep going back to that again and again. And I yelled in my living room at all these college kids last night. This past, I could just get fired up when I'm preaching that text. I just love it.
Yes, Jason is just as animated on the podcast as he is on stage. He talks with his hands just as much, even when you can't see it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's dive into this last week. Corey, you had the honor of bringing us the word this last week. You kicked us off into Luke 7, and it was a great morning. I got to watch from PV, and that was a different...
I heard there was a baby head on screen in PV.
There was, and it was...
a distracting, cute little baby.
It was so funny because you would... so it was the wide shot. You could see the TV and Corey, and then as like Corey's talking and just going through his thing, you just see this baby head pop up, and she was looking at her dad and be like, "Oh, yeah, this is live, and there's people watching Corey," and so like, okay, so try to log back in, and the baby head would slowly go back down. Like, okay, now I can focus up. And Corey would talk about the faith and you just see this baby head pop back up again. It's like, oh, there she is again. And so it was a little distracting.
So you had some competition in PV.
You did.
The cute little baby.
I'm not beating that.
You're not going to beat the cute little baby.
Yeah. So it went on for a while, and I was expecting the next time like to see a crying face, but nope. And then you drew us in though, so you did a good job and not being distracted by, which was so funny because it's like they're right like it looks like they're that first row. So I don't know how you didn't get distracted, but when I brought it up to you,
I had no idea. I guess you just naturally look over
That's
that
right.
first
Those
row.
first 3 rows, I never see them when I'm preaching.
I'm like, oh my,
yeah,
you'd have to look down too far.
So it was a great getting to worship with you, and people in PV still love you. So when you introduced yourself, they cheered, and when you welcomed us in, they cheered again. So you still have a good following out there. So
fan club.
They're
Corey's fan
really
club.
proud of you.
I don't know if I call it that, but yeah.
Well, you did what, 3 years, 2 years of
most of my
ministry?
time.
Yeah.
Out in PV.
Yeah.
Almost
So,
my whole
leading them.
my whole time here until October.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, Jason, what stuck out to you as you got to see Corey preach this week?
I feel like a proud papa. He's a youngin', grew up in our church, and just did a stellar job. Just did so good. So it was great. I did tell him, I felt like he undersold the fact that we got to get out of the red letters. You know, that there was this moment like Jesus teaching in Luke 6 is hard. Like he's asking us to do, and you mentioned a few of them in the message. He's calling us to do hard things. Love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Turn the other cheek. Give to anyone who asks you. Like, woe to you if you're rich. If you have, like, these are terribly hard things. And so I felt like he had a moment that he could give people a bit of relief, just saying, listen, we're done with these red letters. We don't have to listen to what Jesus tells us to do anymore. We just get to see cool things that Jesus did instead of having to hear mean things he wants us to do. Like, but he did a great job moving us into chapter 7. And this is such a great text. And I felt like you did a great job of helping to personalize this centurion for us, to help paint the picture of what this situation would have been like, not just for Jesus, but for these Jewish elders, all of these people who are surrounding this guy. Like, you helped create the emotional weight of this moment that he would have carried, the authority that he would have had in this moment. And so I just thought it was really great in the connection point of humility and faith being the thing that should be driving us, that we're going to walk out our faith in humility, and these things have to go together. Like, that's part of what it looks like to follow Jesus. So,
well, and you don't recognize the humility piece when you first, at least for myself, like I was plenty familiar with that story before recognizing that was the text I was going to be preaching on. And as you dig into it, because the Bible doesn't say, hey, by the way, this is how many people they were in charge of. Like, you don't recognize the level of authority they had if you're just reading it and not taking a deep dive into it. And so that's, because
Luke wouldn't have had to say that for his original audience. But Luke is writing this for our friend Theophilus, who was a Roman. And so he's in the Roman Empire, and they would have all understood when you say centurion, everybody sits up straight. He would have understood that, so he didn't have to say it. But to your point, you had to bridge that context for us. Which is really good. And I loved your line, and I wrote it in my Bible here. I loved the line where you said that he did not treat Jesus like he was a carpenter. He treated him like he was his general. And that's just a great line. And that should be, and I think I would agree with you in the fact that oftentimes I treat Jesus like I'm the general, and I'm the one telling him what to do, and I'm the one giving him orders, and I'm the one setting expectations, and I'm the one who gets disappointed when he doesn't follow my directions.
Yeah.
But no, he's the general. I have no right to be offended whether he follows my directions. He's in charge. I am not. And so that reminder was really helpful as well.
Yeah. So, Corey, if we would have given you 5 more minutes, is there anything you would have added or anything you would have dug in a little more this last Sunday?
Yeah, so exactly what Jason started with,
Yeah.
Talking, like kind of teasing out the we all say, this is what you were saying at before during run through. We all say we like hearing Jesus teaching, but we don't. We don't like hearing his teaching. We like to see his day-to-day ministry.
Yeah.
We like to see all these cool things that he does and all of these like miraculous things, because those are pretty filled with grace and happy endings. Not always, but most of the time, you see a lot of these happy endings, like the servant is well again. And you don't have a lot of happy, you don't walk away from some of his teaching feeling as happy. But so I had that in there, and as I was just going through my stuff, I was consistently going a little bit too long, and so I was like, all right, that's one of the things that I ended up cutting out. I did mention it at the 8:00 and I think the 9:30 a little bit more, and then it just wasn't in my manuscript, so I skimmed over it at the 11:15. But anyways, and then I would also just say the compassion piece that this centurion had was like, this was a servant, and not everybody would have viewed a servant the same way that he does. And so if you want to, just looking at that, the compassion that this man had for even a servant. And I don't know if that would be, different people will say that it's synonymous with the definition of a slave from that time. I'm not super well educated on if that would have looked much different than when they just used the term slave. But either way, whether servant or slave, like that's still not somebody that high-ranking Romans would have a lot of sympathy for. And so his compassion that he shows for this person is also something that I was going to tease out a little bit more, but just wasn't able to get to it. So
awesome. Well, let's jump in. We have one question from Melissa, and she says, "Happy Monday." So happy Monday, Melissa.
Let's go.
So, and then her first question is, can you help parse out the connection between authority and faith?
So I think the authority piece, and specifically because we talk about authority, the authority that Jesus has, as well as the authority that the centurion had. The connection between the authority of Jesus and the faith that this Roman official had was, the centurion had faith in Jesus' authority, that he didn't just believe. I had one line that I mentioned, that he didn't just believe that Jesus had the ability to heal. He believed that he had the authority to heal, like recognizing the part in Luke 7 where he says, hey, I say to this person, do this, and he does it. I say, come here, and he comes here, or go, and he goes there. And so he recognizes that even Jesus' words have the authority to get things done. And so he had the faith that he had faith in Jesus' authority. And what else I would say about the authority piece is, like, this man he is a man of authority for sure. Like one of the highest points of authority in that town, if not the highest maybe. And even then he submits himself to Jesus' authority. So it's the twofold, the humility piece of, like, clearly Jesus has so much authority that if even he is willing to say, you're above, or interact with him in the sense of Jesus being higher in authority than him, like the humility piece as well as the faith in Jesus' authority. And so that's kind of the way I would piece the authority, the faith, the humility all together. So
I look at it and I say, playing that out, the one phrase that I think we kind of gloss over, and you didn't spend much time on it, but he begins with, I myself am a man under authority. That's the way the centurion begins. Like, he recognizes, I know what it's like to have a general tell me what to do, and I just got to go do it. And so he recognizes that there's authority over him, and he says, and I know what it's like to be in authority. I got people under me, and I tell them what to do, and then they go do it. And he does, and again, I think to your point, he takes his own understanding of military command. Like, that's different than just civilian command.
Yeah,
sure.
I tell y'all what to do, and you look at me like I got two heads. Like, there's no, if I get around to it, I might. Like, it's just different. It's different in civilian world. When there's a chain of command, it's just different. Okay? In military command, you don't question authority. You do what you're told to do. And he understands that. He says, I know what it's like. I've got people over me. They tell me what to do. I just go do it. And I've got soldiers who are under me. And when I tell them, they just go do it. Military command authority, there's a chain of command if you obey the orders. It makes me think of the movie. Oh, my goodness. What's the Tom Cruise movie?
Maverick?
No. Way back. The 90s movie where he's the lawyer and he... You can't handle the truth. What's
Yes, I just saw a reel on it.
It's so good, and I don't know.
I am for sure the worst person you could
I
ask
am
about
totally blanking on this. Kiefer Sutherland.
Few Good Men.
There you go. Kiefer Sutherland plays a general in that, or at least a squadron commander, some sort of authority over this squadron, and he talks about you obey orders. When the commander tells you, you just obey. You don't get the right to question it. And this centurion says, I know what that's like. I've got guys over me. I don't get to question. I just have to do it. And I've got guys under me, and I don't get to question it. They just do it. And he looks at Jesus and says, I know what that's like, and you have that.
Yeah.
And you have it in the realm. This is the crazy part. You have it in the realm over a disease.
Yep.
That you can just say the word and he will be healed. You have that ability, that authority over life and death. He's about to die and you can speak and he will get life.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, he says that I'm not even worthy to come. That's why I didn't come to you.
Yeah.
I'm not even worthy to be around you as a centurion that
Which is insane.
Would be able to just walk in whatever room, you know, without being questioned.
Like I just can't go walking into the Oval Office.
No.
It's the same, right?
Yeah.
It's that kind of, I don't get to go into the personal residence of the King of England. I just don't, you don't have that authority. I'm not, I'm not worthy of that honor to be into that. But he recognizes Jesus has that authority.
Yeah.
You just say the word and he'll go from death to life.
Yeah.
That's the authority that he recognizes in Jesus. So I think you're 100% correct, Corey, when you say he had faith in the authority that Jesus was the man in control over all of this.
Yeah.
And he believed it.
And I wonder how many of these people that interact with Jesus in these miraculous ways, I don't, when they go and seek Jesus because they want the healing, I don't know if they all, I don't know, maybe they do recognize the authority, but part of it could just be like, wow, this guy can do crazy things. Let me go and try to get this crazy thing done because he can heal me and bring about miracles.
Yeah.
Whereas the centurion gets the authority of it as well. It's like he can do these crazy things because of the authority he has in heaven. And so, yeah.
And again, I think it's really interesting. You pointed it out between verses 8 and 9, or maybe even better, 9 and 10. Did Jesus even say the words?
Yeah.
Because it's not as if he says, and he does it other times, go, your servant will be healed. He never actually says the word, or I command whatever disease. He doesn't say any word, but yet they go back and he's healed and they find him well. So
Yeah, that was such a great idea I came up with all by myself, Jason.
I'm just saying it's just interesting that it just never even
Yeah.
shows up in the text.
Yeah.
He doesn't even have to say the word. Like he just willed it into being. Like it's just
Yeah.
It would've
you
been-
read this stuff. and you
Jason
don't-
pointed that one out after the 8 o'clock. Because I never even realized it. I was just like, yeah, he was right. Jesus' words were enough. And then it's like, wait, shoot, he didn't even say the word.
didn't even say the words.
say it.
The guys are just
So,
standing there like,
Yeah.
all right, we're gonna head back.
Thanks, man.
It's yeah.
Yeah.
But this guy's faith was so great. And again, I think that military command piece of I know what it's like to be under authority and I know what it's like to be the one in authority.
Yeah.
And whatever it is that you got, it's far and above what I understand.
Yeah.
So you don't have to, you can just say it into the ether and speak life over death, health over sickness, whatever it was that was taking over the body of this servant. Jesus, you have the authority to take that
Yeah.
away. I like that. That is amazing faith.
Especially since he didn't see it. He hasn't seen Jesus do anything.
Yeah.
It's just all probably just hearsay as he's doing his rounds
Yeah.
of, hey, did you hear about this guy?
Yeah.
And just to have that faith of, well, this guy said it, this guy said it, this guy said something, but
Yeah.
yeah. So, is there anything else you guys want to hit on this?
No,
that
again,
sticks
I think
out?
it was great.
Yeah.
I loved the text, and it's just so fun. I just love, you read these stories, and many of us have read through these, just taking weeks like this. Because how many times did we talk about this text, and I didn't even see that he didn't until I sat through your sermon at 8 o'clock, and I'm like, oh, looky there. He didn't even have to say it. Like, there's just so much that we just keep gleaning from the Word of God that just gets revealed again and again. You can read these stories, and they just continue to give life, and I just love that.
Yeah.
I do think the humility piece, because at the end I kind of mentioned, hey, which one is it? We each have something.
Yeah.
One of those two. They both need work for probably all of us, but one of the two, maybe a little bit more so. And I think for me, it's that humility piece where I just need to keep reminding myself, like, hey, I don't even oversee 80 to 100 troops.
Yeah.
And I'm acting like I'm showing less humility at times than even that man does.
Yeah.
And so just that reminder for me, since I started working on it, that was kind of the reminder for me when I could tell my humility was lacking.
Yeah.
Was I would just think of this guy, like this guy, even he actually has something to be, puff up about.
Yep.
And he was more humble than I am sometimes.
Yeah.
So I just need that reminder frequently. So
Yeah, there is a tension. Like, I wonder, what would my prayer life look like if I was in true humility, but I also had true faith that I actually believe Jesus can do this stuff.
yeah.
Not that I can command him to go do it, but I have full belief that all he has to do is say the word. And I wonder how many of us waffle on that side, that we pray the prayer, but we wonder if Jesus can actually do the thing. Right. And so so for me, it's both. It is the I need to have more faith, believing that Jesus actually can do everything that he says he can do, while at the same time having the humility to say, but even if he doesn't, he is
Yeah.
Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good. I think
Pray
that's-
with the expectation.
Yeah.
And then I guess submit to the answer.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Awesome. Well, we hope you guys have a good week, and we'll see you guys Sunday.